morning, everyone. We're here with my boy, Bryan Salmond from News 3. We're on the Miracle Marketing Podcast. Co-host Perion, he couldn't be on today. He had to do some producing and recording. So he said he's going to try and hop on if he can, but we're going to have a great show. We got Bryan on here. So we're going to talk to the amateur boxing champion. Good morning, sir. How's it going?
How you doing? How you doing? I appreciate the amateur boxer. I just had to go ahead and pull out the belt. Let you know that
he hit us with the belt, y'all. Put it up in the camera. Let us see it.
There it is. There it is. Got the belt. Got to let folks know. Yeah, that's what I got for winning my little amateur fight.
All right. It ain't a little amateur fight. You 1-0, baby.
I'm 1-0.
Bringing the title to Vegas. All right. So are you going to defend the championship?
You know what? I wasn't sure about it, but I think I'm actually going to take a fight in February. I think I'm going to do. They have another one in February. It's called the Masters Boxing. Masters USA Boxing. Masters USA Boxing. You can look it up online and whatnot, but it's for guys at 35 and older, and they pair you with somebody, your experience level, your age, your weight, and you get in there and make it happen. You got to weigh in. You have to go get a physical. I mean, it's sanctioned by the USA Boxing, Nevada Boxing Commission, and everything out here. So it's a real deal. It's a real deal.
All right.
I'm not the real deal, but the thing is a real deal, and I got to win.
Hey, you are the real deal, man. Boxing it takes a lot to do boxing, but we're going to circle back to your boxing career, how that got started. But what I want to know from you is, how did you get started as being a sports announcer on the news channel, News 3 here in Las Vegas, covering all the big fights, the games, the Raiders, the Aces, the Golden Knights? Talk to us about how that got started for you and how your career got started overall.
Yeah, I mean, television, it's a long road, man. It's a long road to hoe, as they say. Basically, I started off as a kid, wanted to be, I wanted to be an athlete. I want to be a professional athlete. I played baseball in California growing up, played basketball, football. I mean, I played everything through high school. And, I figured out I'm not going to go pro. And a friend of mine used to watch, Sports Center, used to watch a sportscast on CNN back in the day, if you even remember that, if you're old enough to remember that. So, I was like, you know what, I could do that, man. I could do that. So went to college, did an internship, and then did like the trek around the country, basically. You have to start in a small market, little town. I started in Missoula, Montana, and kind of worked my way up through, Texas, Beaumont, Texas, Las Vegas. I've worked in New Orleans, worked in Boston, and then back in Las Vegas, man. So it's a tough road. You just got to really want to do what you want to do. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of fun. I mean, you see me at games, man. I've seen you around, and it's you meet a lot of good people. You get a chance to see a lot of events that people pay for, and you're there working.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's dope.
Good. So you said you kind of got started in Missoula, Montana. What was that like in being in Montana?
Yeah, man. So I moved from Atlanta, Georgia to Missoula, Montana. And you can't get any more different than Atlanta, Georgia to Missoula, Montana. I was the first brother on TV in Montana. And the thought about going to Montana, the first thought was probably exactly what you had. Like, goodness gracious, you going to Montana? It's going to be crazy up there, right? So, I'm thinking that. I got up there, man. It's like the nicest people of anywhere I've ever lived.
Really?
By far. I mean, there was no kind of racism or prejudice, anything like that. Like, people were just kind of basically ignorant of being around people of color for the most part, Black people specifically, you know what I mean? However, they do have Indian reservations up there. So that's where the whole, they had I don't know if you ever seen the movie, not the movie, but the TV show, Yellowstone.
Mm-hmm. Everyone keeps telling me about it. I haven't watched the show, but I hear it's great.
It actually is really good. You wouldn't think you'd want to watch it, but it's actually really good. Mm-hmm. And basically, you see the dichotomy between the folks that live on the reservations, the Native Americans, and then everyone who doesn't. And that's the big problem that they had in Montana for the most part, those people and that sort of thing. But as far as like being black and living up there, it was great. Again, like the nicest people anywhere I've ever lived, man. And, I learned the TV thing, how terrible I was. And, I look at tapes of me back then to now.
So
That was terrible.
I want to talk about that. One thing, you said you looked at your tapes. How do you prepare to, when you look at it to, go from what you saw then to getting better? Is there any specific preparations you do to, make yourself better? Because for new talent, I know a lot of people come up these days and just think they could just turn on the camera and hop on, and you're on the camera every, with professional athletes, you're on the news station. Talk to us about how that, go from being terrible back then to how you are now, because you're great on TV now.
First of all, I appreciate that, man. I really do appreciate that. And that's a really good question because, as a person coming up, when you're in the moment, you think that you're good. You know what I mean? It's just like someone, if you're a rapper, if you're a basketball player, you think you're good until you practice your craft and you do it more and more, then you realize just how bad you actually were. You know what I mean? So basically things that I used to do in order to make myself better is, like say you get a magazine or a newspaper or whatever, and you read it out loud. So that helps you learn how to read a prompter. And the big thing you do when you read it out loud is you want to read it so it sounds conversational.
Okay.
So that's the big thing. You don't want to sound like you're reading something. And then you went to the store, and you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to sound monotone and sing-songy. Those are, terms that, like TV terms or whatever. So that's something that I did to try to, get better. And then you get more comfortable. You're not nervous in front of the camera. I wasn't necessarily nervous, but you have to find your voice, like your voice of what you want to sound like on television. You know what I mean? And for me, I don't have a voice of what I want to sound like on TV. I always told myself, I'm just going to be me. Okay. You know what I mean? If people don't like me, then they're not going to like watching me on TV. I'm not going to get on TV and be some extra special, different person. And then you meet me in person and be like, man, this dude is crazy. Like he's not anything like you see him on TV. You know what I mean? Like he's an ass or something like that. So I always thought about that. I'll just be me. You got to speak clearly and enunciate and all that, but I'm not going to try to sound like I'm, you know what I mean? Like I don't do that. I just, I'm always
just being yourself. You just being yourself. And one thing I can always say, every single time from the very first time I met you, at the Aces games, we done bumped into each other at the airport, all kind of stuff.
That's
and
crazy.
One thing I can say is you're always down to earth, always, no ego, nothing. I mean, every time I run into you, big three games, everything, you always the same dude.
I appreciate that. That means a lot. I appreciate that.
No, man. Always. You've always been, real genuine. Every time I run into you, real good dude. So that's one reason why I definitely wanted to have you on the show. Always good to my kids whenever you see them.
Yeah, it's always good to see it, man. I love seeing brothers with the kids, man. I don't like the narrative that people think, specifically with black men and fatherhood and all that. I don't like that. So I love to see it. I love to see it.
So kind of talking about that, because you've met my kids and at covering the Aces games, little young sportscasters, for talent that wants to be sportscasters and the youth, talk to them about the grind and the preparation and everything like that, and kind of how you went through it. Tell us about how any words of inspiration that you would have for the youth that wants to be a sports analyst.
All right. So the big thing is fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to look at it, times have changed. Like I'm old as dirt. I feel like it, but times have changed where you can get a YouTube channel and you can get on television, and you can get a following on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever the other one is. That's terrible. Was it Snapchat? Yeah, all that. I know Instagram, but the other one, whatever it
TikTok.
is. But TikTok, exactly. You can be TikTok famous. So by doing different things. But traditionally, if you're trying to be on television and go like the traditional role, the big thing, going to college, getting a communications class and doing an internship. And an internship basically is unpaid. You go to a TV station, you find somebody that, you know, like myself, that's willing to mentor you and show you the ropes of how to be on television. And you know, that you learn basically how to work on the job without getting paid. Like, that's the most important thing. You put together a reel, you know, if you at a game doing stand-ups and talking, or you interviewing people, or you anchoring, and then that's how you you know, that's, and then you send it out to different states. You know, you email your YouTube link to different news directors around the country in these small markets, do interviews, probably Zoom now, and that's how you get offered a job and you move. Like, I'd never even been to Montana before I took the job there, you know? So I'm getting in a U-Haul, literally driving across the country with my car on the back of a U-Haul to Montana by myself.
Wow. That,
you know,
talk about that's the real grind.
I mean, you have, and the big thing I would always tell students and people coming up is that you have to really, really want to do it, and you have to be willing to do anything in order to achieve whatever dream that you have. Anything. And moving to Missoula, Montana is anything. You know what I mean? You got to be willing. Like, will I drop everything after I get out of college and go move to Iowa to go get on a television station, or go move somewhere in South Texas? Because kids nowadays think that they can start in Las Vegas. You know, or they want to skip steps. And you know, like I know, man, there's no, you can't skip steps to success.
No,
you know,
you can't.
Some people can, and they get moved across the line, but you can't expect that. So hard work and you know, dedication, man. You just have to really want to do what you can do, and you can do it. That's why, and you can do it.
You so, when you first started out, who was your big interview, and where was you nervous? Who was your big interview with?
Wow, when I first started out, anybody was nerve wracking back in the day. I mean, not to say nerve wracking, but you know, you don't necessarily know your interview style and all that kind of stuff. But I can say this. I still remember, like, the first time I was in like an NFL or a Major League Baseball locker room. I remember I was inside the locker room with in Houston.
Okay.
So when I worked in Beaumont, Texas, was my second market. So I went from Missoula, Montana to Beaumont, Texas, which is outside of Houston. It's east. It's near the line to Louisiana, small town. Kendrick Perkins.
Kendrick Perkins always talk about he's from Beaumont, Texas.
Yep. So I covered Kendrick Perkins. I used to play basketball at his high school, Ozan High School.
Okay.
So it's 80 miles or so from Houston. So I would go cover the Houston Texans. So David Carr, I went to their training camp. So I'm interviewing David Carr that was just odd, being in a, you know, big scrum, what they call, with a bunch of people doing interviews at an NFL training camp. That was like, wow, you know, I mean, you know, doing then being in the locker room with the Houston Astros, Craig Biggio, Jeff Bagwell, the guys that played for the Houston Astros. I remember doing an interview there. That was, and then I remember the first time going to an NBA game as media. Ricky Davis was one of the first, I think, maybe the first person I interviewed. And he was cool, man. He was so cool. And he was polished and everything else. I was like, man, this brother, you know, he was just real cool. And it was the first time
he had some hops, boy. Ricky Davis.
Ricky Davis could hoop.
Jump out the gym.
Man, he could hoop. So, I mean, that was those are guys that it was odd doing the interviews. But I remember, like, the very biggest interview was meeting Dr. J.
Okay.
That was
and I met Dr. J, good dude. I met him in Atlanta, of all places, like we just talked about, in Atlanta, and both of us being from Cali, you from Northern Cali, me from Southern Cali, and I met him in Atlanta, real good dude. But yeah, Dr. J.
Dr. J, man, you know what I mean? Dr. J.
A legend.
Yeah, I mean, he's Michael Jordan before Jordan. That was my first idol. You know, and people don't realize just how big he was. Like, Dr. J was
he's still
the biggest name in the NBA.
Still is today, yeah.
So him, Sugar Ray Leonard, I met. I was just in awe meeting Sugar Ray Leonard. Those are probably like the two biggest, you know, names and people that I met that I just, oh my God, I can't believe I met. Sugar Ray Leonard was cool. Took a picture with him, everything else. I have pictures of the first time I interviewed Dr. J. was on a red carpet at the Wynn during the 2007 NBA All-Star game. They had a whole bunch of people there. and he came down and my photo, I took a picture of me interviewing him. I still have it, man. Yeah, that was something else.
Great, great. So I want to circle back to the boxing.
Gotcha.
So going from being an analyst, what made you want to jump into boxing and do it, and talk about the preparation to doing your first match?
Man, so you're probably like me. I know you watch boxing growing up, man. Like I love watching the sport. And I mean, you're a kid growing up, you play different sports, you're gonna get in fights, especially if you live, let's say, inner city, but you're a competitive dude, you're a boy. Vallejo, I used to get in a bunch of fights, man. So you always want to be good with your hands. That's kind of a thing of growing up as a man. You got to be able to be good with your hands and whatnot. So I always wanted to actually know how to do it well. So Jesse Merrick, who is he's the weekend guy at the station, he met Wayne McCulloch. His name's the Pocket Rocket, Wayne McCulloch, little Irishman. And he's in Boxing Hall of Fame, Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame. Jesse met him. Wayne said, hey, you can come over to the gym and, come take some lessons real quick for free. Just come on over. And I went and met him. I did it. The first day it was hard. I was in the ring. He's doing pads with me. And I couldn't breathe by the time, my stomach was hurting, everything. Wayne thought I was throwing up and would never come back. And of course I'm gonna come back. I'm an athlete. I'm thinking I'm an athlete, man. I'll get through anything. Please, I'll be back. This was great. I love doing it. So I would do it every, a couple times a week, train. And then he says to me, hey, they have this Masters. You can do it. You're over 35. You can fight somebody. Would you want to do it? Like, thought about it. I was like, man, yeah, I'll do it. You want to compete. You want to test yourself against somebody. So I did. I signed up for it. You got to pay like $200. It's not like something you pay $200 to do it. You got to go get a stress EKG where they put the deal on your chest and run on the treadmills and make sure your heart is right, your blood pressure, all that stuff. So I was good and cleared medically. And it was something else, man, because
it's a lot of work and preparation. And boxing, you got to have stamina, because just doing it, I mean, you don't think it's that long, but it's a lot of stamina and you got to have it. And
as
you get older, most times you don't have it.
No, absolutely. And it's 3.5 rounds. And you think 3 minutes is what they do for regular boxing. And some amateurs, they do like 1 minute, 2 minutes, but 1.5 minutes. And you think 1.5 minutes is not long. It is long. So, you can run, you can do pad work, to try to get your stamina up. A lot of people ride a bike, that sort of thing. And I used to play a lot of basketball. So like my stamina was decent, but I got it up. I was good. I trained. So I learned technical boxing, how to, punch and guard yourself so you don't get hit, because, got to, keep the moneymaker right. Wear headgear and 16-ounce gloves, which are the biggest gloves. But I mean, like you can still get hit and hurt. So
did you get hit?
Yeah, I got hit my defense is good. So I got hit maybe 3 or 4 times. Like I got hit flush in the face.
What was it like getting hit your first time?
Well, the first time it's not as bad as you think. Okay. You know what I mean? It's not as bad as you think, because you're scared. You don't want to get hit. So the first time I ever sparred, I sparred with a guy named Ray Vega, who's a professional boxer. He fights at like 154 pounds. I'll send you the link to his Instagram. Okay. But I mean, he looks like he's big and, he's a professional. I see him in there. He knows what he's doing. But when professionals spar with people who don't know anything, they take it super easy. You know what I mean? They just kind of give you a look at what it's like. And my coach tells me, Wayne's like, listen, you go 100%. You try to kill him, knock him out. And he's not going to go 100%, obviously. Right. But I'm going 100%. I can't even hit him. Like I literally can't hit him. Like he's blocking all the shots. He'll move around and he'll be in my face. And I can't hit him. And I didn't even know how to throw a punch to where. So I have video of it. It's terrible. Pulling punches. It's something else. It was something else.
I'm gonna shadow you at your next one for sure. I missed your last fight, and I was texting you. I said, I missed your fight. Definitely gonna be at the next one. Keep me posted, and we're gonna cover it.
I will. I absolutely send it to you.
We definitely want to start promoting it on the show.
I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely come. That was the whole most nerve-wracking of doing the fight. was just having people there that you know watching you fight, because I don't want to lose in front of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that was nerve-wracking. So it'll be nerve-wracking having you there.
Don't worry about me. Don't tune me out. But I do want to talk about a couple of other things before we go. We got the Super Bowl coming up here in Las Vegas. I'm sure you're going to be covering that. We got the Aces, doing their thing, and the Aces are getting ready to head into the playoffs. So talk to us about those two things.
Man, how about the fact that we're going to have a Super Bowl in Las Vegas? The Super Bowl is coming to Las Vegas. Like, that's bananas. So yeah, the Super Bowl is coming here. I'll get an opportunity to cover it. Hopefully the Raiders make it to the Super Bowl. That would be
great.
Bananas to actually cover it, right? That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
So I mean, Allegiant Stadium. Have you been?
I have not been to Allegiant at all.
You got to go to like UNLV or something like that, or take a tour. You got to get to you got to get inside.
I have so much going on, but I will be at a game this year. I will definitely check out a game.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So yeah, the Super Bowl coming here is going to be fantastic. I had a chance to cover Super Bowl in New Orleans and also one in Phoenix. And once I covered the team that I was actually covering when I worked in Boston, I covered the Patriots. So that was different than covering the Super Bowl in New Orleans, where it's two teams that they're not the Saints. So you can just kind of go into different events and everything else, but that's going to be fantastic. And you talk about covering the Aces. Hopefully they make it back to the championship. They do pretty well against all the teams on the West Coast. They're gonna have a little something with New York, because New York has been playing extremely well, especially if they don't get Candace
struggling with New York. They seem to have an issue with New York.
And the reason why is New York plays 5-on-4 against them. Because they don't. Unfortunately, Kia Stokes is very good at rebounding and playing defense, but offensively right now she's been struggling. So the teams don't guard her.
Do you think Candace is going to come back soon?
See, I need to ask somebody, because they've been very hush. She had the injury on her foot and had surgery. I don't know if she's coming back.
Okay.
I hope she is.
They need height.
They do. So Candace is good for rebounding, for playing defense, and she's a threat. They have to guard her.
Mm-hmm. She can stretch the floor, because she can definitely shoot the three.
Exactly.
And can handle the ball.
She brings the ball up the court, right?
Yeah.
So they are really, really, really missing Candace Parker. And I remember thinking to myself that she wasn't playing all that well, and she's just doing okay. And then when she was gone, you realize just how much she brought to the table to this team. Mm-hmm. She was definitely the missing piece.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Aces, man. You go to the game last night?
I did not go to the game last night. I did see that they won. Yeah. I know that they started out the season, they were blowing everybody out. Now the game seemed to be a little bit tighter, I know, down the stretch, but man, my girl Asia, she's a beast.
She's a monster, right?
She is a beast, man. That she's gonna be.
I hope she goes back-to-back WNBA MVPs, man. She won last year and the Defensive Player of the Year. She had the 53-point game.
Yeah.
She just got the Player of the Week, the Conference Player of the Week again. It's her fourth time this year. Mm-hmm. Her and Alyssa Thomas, in Connecticut. She's got a bunch of triple doubles. Mm-hmm. I think those are the two front runners for MVP. And Brittany, she plays for New York. What's that?
Not Griner.
Not Brittany. I can't remember. I'm just drawing a blank, right? It's early for me, but yeah, who plays for Atlanta? Used to play for not Atlanta. She plays for New York. Used to play for Seattle Storm. She's a very good. Played at Connecticut.
I can't think of her name, but I know they got the All-Star. Breanna Stewart.
Yes, man.
I don't know
why.
I'm drawing a blank.
Breanna Stewart. She's such a hooper.
Yeah, she's nice.
She's such a hooper. Those are three people going for the MVP. Her. Alyssa Thomas and Asia Wilson. So hopefully Asia will get it again, man. Asia, I mean, she's doing she's the face of WNBA. She's a hooper.
Yeah, she's doing her thing. So yeah, those are some big things that's coming up here in the Vegas area. You got the Super Bowl, you got the Aces. What else is going on with you, man? Talk to us about what you see down the line as far as Vegas growing, and talk about what some of the other things that you got going on.
I mean, I call it on TV all the time, the sports entertainment capital of the world. So there's always something going on. F1, which you're probably like me, man. You don't watch F1. I never watch F1, car racing and whatnot. But the fact that it's coming to Las Vegas is huge. Huge, huge. I mean, they go to Morocco and Monte Carlo. The places they go around, they go to Miami. You know what I mean? They go around the world, and they're transforming the city. I'm sure you've been down near the Strip, and the traffic is absurd.
Yeah,
absurd. And a lot of it has to do with them repaving the roads and making sure everything's okay for F1. They're building different stuff down there for it. So that's huge just for the city of Las Vegas to have F1 here. So that's a big deal. The Raiders starting up the 10th, their first game in Denver, their first home game, the 24th, they're taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, which was my team growing up. I used to love Pittsburgh.
How'd you like Pittsburgh being from the Bay Area?
Which is what, so I don't know. You like what team your dad likes. So that my dad was a big Steelers fan. Both my parents were from Philly, right?
Okay.
And somehow my dad was a Steelers fan. I think he was bandwagon. The 70s, man, the Steelers were the team, right? So right. I'm a 70s baby. So yeah, I just like the Steelers. I never went to a Raiders game growing up in the Bay. I never went to NFL games. I used to go to A's games, and I used to go to Golden State Warrior games, but I've never been to an NFL game until I was in college. Okay. So, yeah, so we got the Raiders coming up, and that's going to be – I'm looking forward to the NFL season. Going to the games and just the energy inside and everything else is great. Then we have baseball, obviously, with the Aviators. A lot of people don't talk about that, man, but the Las Vegas ballpark, we have a AAA baseball team. They're affiliate of the A's. Mm-hmm. They play great games out there, man. They get 8 to 10,000 people at the games out there, and the ballpark is beautiful.
It's beautiful.
You got the backdrop, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's really nice area. All of that is real nice over there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's always something to do. So those are probably like the biggest things that are coming up, and then boxing. We talked about me and boxing. Man, I love boxing. Canelo was fighting here against Jermell Charlo, one of the twin brothers. For undisputed at 168 pounds. That fight is September 30th. So that's a big thing that's coming up. I mean, the Bud Crawford, Errol Spence fight that was here the 29th of July, man, that was a big
fight. And they're redoing the fight. I just heard it on Undisputed this morning.
Yeah, I mean, Errol Spence wanted the rematch. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, man. I mean, I loved that fight. I mean, Bud Crawford did his thing in that fight, man. So I have to look because I saw that they signed or whatever, that they agreed to it at 154 pounds. Got to figure out where the fight is going to be. Okay. It'll be in Vegas, but I mean, like when it's going to be, excuse me. So that first fight, man, Terrence Crawford, whoo, he put them things on him.
So out of all the sports that you do cover in the Las Vegas area, is there one that you had to learn a little bit more about that you weren't as familiar with? You want to talk to us about that?
Yes. And with you asking that question, how can I even forget our hockey team?
The Knights just won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, the Knights won the Stanley Cup, man. That was maybe one of the most fun things I've ever done in my profession, like covering a NHL Stanley Cup champion team. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like covering that team. That was going to Florida, going to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, Dallas, and then them winning the cup. Man, that was crazy. And then their season starts. You covered them.
You covered them in all the different areas.
Yeah, our station sent us to the game, so that was something else. I'd never been to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Like that was cool. Going to the different arenas and whatnot. I'd been to Dallas before, never been to Florida, that part of Florida. So that was great. So they start the 10th of October.
Yeah, because NHL runs kind of along as NBA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So to your question, what did I have to study up on? Hockey would have been the thing. Okay. I covered hockey in Boston, the Boston Bruins, and I covered hockey in Beaumont. They had an ECHL team. Matter of fact, I even covered hockey here in Las Vegas the first time I was here, the Las Vegas Wranglers, which was a minor league team. And I know what the goal is, but I didn't know the terminology so much.
Mm-hmm.
Floor check, and just I didn't necessarily see the game the way I see it now. Like I can see the strategy and what they're doing, and their line changes and all this kind of like just terminology. Guys, going over the boards, like going to the bench and coming off the bench, and how the game doesn't stop; it keeps moving and everything else. So, I mean, that was something I really learned, and I feel that I feel I have a really, really, really good grasp of what hockey is now. You know what I mean? I didn't before,
Okay.
and that was something I had to learn. As a guy growing up playing sports, you played sports, you know everything. Like I played tennis. I mean, I golf, all that stuff. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
play golf, but golf from watching
Yeah, you
sports.
learn certain things about it.
Hockey, I have no clue. It's like cricket. I don't know anything about cricket.
You know what you're gonna have to learn pretty soon because it's getting so huge. It's the pickleball.
Well, I actually played pickleball.
Oh, okay. Because that's
Yeah, and you're right.
I'm
It is
seeing
it is
I'm getting
professional
huge and a
pickleball.
lot of professional players from even other sports because I think Kevin Durant owns a team and I think LeBron owns a pickleball team.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
they had a professional pickleball over at Mandalay Bay in their little convention area. I remember going over there and seeing it. I
Hmm.
played pickleball in junior high school. I remember in Vallejo, they had like one of our PE classes. We had pickleball, and like I
Wow.
said, I played tennis in high school.
Hmm.
So in pickleball, similar. It's a lot of fun, man. I don't. It's a lot of fun. It's a whole lot of fun. So pickleball.
So coming up, they're talking about the NBA expanding to the Vegas area. What do you think about that? Do you think it's going to be a new team, an expansion team, or do you think a team is going to move here?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think what they'll do is they'll end up having a new team. People
Okay.
say that the New Orleans Pelicans are going to come here or something. I worked in New Orleans. They don't get support like the Saints do at all.
Hmm.
Who knows? Maybe they come here, but it'll be Seattle and Las Vegas, the two cities getting teams at some point. To me, Vegas is an NBA city, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You got the
When the
summer
Lakers
league,
play here, T-Mobile is crazy.
summer
Um,
league.
Yeah, Summer League is here. Team USA was just here, so the national team practices here. I sat down and did an interview with Grant Hill,
Okay.
and I talked to him about the NBA coming to Las Vegas. I talked to Steve Kerr about the NBA coming to Las Vegas. I mean, that's the topic, man. I mean, Vegas is hot, and NBA players love Las Vegas.
Hmm.
Clearly, right?
Hmm.
And it's indoor. It's a show. It to me, I thought Vegas should have been an NBA city first.
Right.
So I think I say within 3 years we'll have an NBA team.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So a couple of other questions on them before we go. Um, One of the questions I want to ask you is with the Aces and with the Raiders, uh, you have Tom Brady that ended up buying the Aces. Talk to us about that, where he went from being an NFL player to owning the Aces. And I just checked out those new facilities that they have. Have you been to the facilities there?
Actually, I have not been to the new one, the one out there near the Raiders team facility, just
Yeah.
because Vegas. I live in Northwest Las Vegas,
Okay.
and to drive from Aliante to where the Raiders are, it's literally a 40-minute
Yeah,
drive
it's
to
far.
get out there. It's for me, it's way out there, way out there. So I haven't been out there. They had the opening. Jesse went out and covered that. I've seen the pictures. It looks fantastic. Matter
Mm.
of fact, I just met the lady who actually built it, who designed and built it.
Oh, wow.
She actually does. Yeah, I met her. I can't remember her first name. I sat with her at the Aces game last night. She
Okay.
built their team facility. She built Mandalay Bay's Michelob Ultra Arena as far as the inside, and made it WNBA specific, and
Mhm.
T-Mobile Arena.
Well, we'll get her
This
name
woman.
and we'll make sure we get that promoted here on their Miracle Podcast.
Yes.
But
Yes. I can
Tom
contact
Brady going to the, I
uh,
mean, owning partial owner of the Aces. What's your thoughts on that?
yes. So Tom Brady, I think it's great that guys, I mean, you saw like Serena Williams, owning some of the Dolphins.
Mhm.
Michael Jordan owning the team in the NBA. I think it's great that players are, using their money and trying to get some sort of Magic Johnson, owning portions of teams, and Tom Brady buying in to the Raiders seems kind of odd. Like, why would it be the Raiders? You know what I mean? That's kind of odd. I know that when he met Mark Davis, he was going to come here. So I think, and Brady owned some of the aces. It just, he has some kind of a kinship with Mark Davis somehow. They met, and they have a great relationship. So I don't know if you saw the video of him at the Raiders game. I think in Dallas he was in the locker room, like talking to the players as they're getting ready to go out on the field. I think that just does nothing but bring more prestige and spotlight to a Raiders organization that's already an international brand. I think it's great, man. You can't lose having Tom Brady being associated with your team.
No.
You know what I mean?
Seven Super Bowls.
Man, he is that guy.
Well, we have time running out. So what I do want to do is thank you again for being on the show. Big Perrion couldn't be here, so we'll definitely have you back.
Big P, man, good people.
Yeah. He done some production for Roy Jones, and you in the boxing, so got that little connection there. But
I told next time I see Roy Jones, I'm gonna bring up his name.
Yeah. So tell everyone where they could find you on social media, and leave that with our viewers.
I appreciate you giving me that opportunity. Yeah, if you want to check me out on Twitter, it's Bryan, Bryan. The only way to spell Bryan, News3LV. That's my Twitter handle, Bryan News3LV. And then on Instagram, I'm real active on Instagram. It's Official Vegas Bryan. Official Vegas Bryan. And I post a lot of the interviews and stuff I do on there. Once we see this, I'll go ahead and I'll be posting the links and everything else. You send me any kind of the short clips or whatever, I'll make sure I get it out to folks, man. So yeah. And then actually you can Bryan Salmond as well, professional page on Facebook, email, all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, holla at your boy.
All right. Well, thanks again for being on the show. We'll be checking you out on News 3. We have Bryan Salmond again. Thank you for being a guest on the A Miracle Podcast. We got the undefeated amateur boxing. Look at that. We got the belt up in there. Thanks again for being on the show, my brother. I'll be seeing you soon in the Las Vegas area. And we'll have that championship with the Aces going back to back, and hopefully the Raiders.
That's right. I appreciate you having me on. Thanks for having me on. It was a good time. Anytime, man, you need me to come back, just let me know.
Definitely will. We'll have you on with Big P, like I said, and hopefully we'll have you back on to talk about the upcoming NBA and football season.
Gotcha. Let's do it.
All right. Thanks again, Bryan. Everyone, thank you for checking out the A Miracle Podcast. Check us out. Subscribe to us on YouTube at A Miracle Marketing Podcast. Follow us on Instagram and also Twitter at A Miracle Marketing Podcast. Thank you again, Bryan, and have a great weekend.